spaghetti, meatballs, and sliders. That's what these people are having for dinner. What is going on? Happy Labor Day, everybody. And I just messed it up because we just went through the motions and I didn't hit the go live button, but that's all good. Today we got Mr. Roger Stout joining us from the Go Rogue podcast. Man, welcome on board. And of course, I'm always joined by Gaines Bullies, Donald and Mike. What is going on, fellas?
Hey, Mr. Stack Off King himself, man.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for 3 days, the whole long weekend.
That's it, man. Hey, you know, he was nice enough to invite me to his podcast, and man, we had a great 2-hour conversation, man. Honestly, we just pretty much just kicked back and had a ball, and I said, hey, wouldn't it be great to just turn around and do the same thing over here? Let's just sit down and talk about things. Look, Kyle already has it set up. He's got the first topic on board. Temperament. Nice. Is it genetic or is it created? What do you guys think? Temperament, genetic or created?
I think it's both, man.
Yeah, I think it's mostly genetic. I mean, too often them pups come out and they're just like their mama, or you know. If it's a temperament that's easily seen, like bouncy, lot of energy, go for broke, I think that we see one of our females that every one of her pups act the same, and I know they weren't all environmentally stimulated the same. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think both is true. I've seen dogs that I've sold that have gone to do two different types of households. One is a show in the ring type of household, you know, socializing the pups, blah, blah, blah. And then that one household where it could be an empty nest or even just a young couple that are together and they start babying the pup and spoiling the pup. And here you are, you're seeing a consistent genetic touch on the pups, right? Because when they're here, they're pretty much growing together within the same environment. And then once they leave, you can see how those traits were there, but they also had to adapt to the environment that you know they were brought into. What do you think about it, Raj? What is your experience?
I kind of separate it into two different things. So you see those puppies that are like genetically predisposed to this drive, right?
Okay.
Now, that drive, to me, as a young age, a dog that has high drive versus a dog that has low drive, then eventually leads to the type of temperament that dog will have based off training. Yes. So if you have a dog that's very high drive as a young puppy, then I feel like you really got to get that dog under control early on. You know, if they're low drive, then they tend to not be so spicy. You know what I mean? I've got puppies, you can see it in the whelping box, you know, and they're ripping and tearing at each other's ears and barking and carrying on. There's always a couple that are a little spicier than the other ones, you know. And if those are the ones I end up keeping, I tend to try to pay a little more attention to them just to make sure.
I think you hit on something. Sabueso just dropped a comment. He said there are genetic factors that contribute, but trauma and other environmental factors can change a dog's temperament. I've seen good dogs turn bad due to trauma and neglect. Luckily for us, I haven't necessarily seen that. Go ahead, Mike.
What about bad dogs turning good? And what I mean is,
I could only imagine a trainer, right? I'm not a trainer. I'm just a breeder, right? But I can tell you, I can see a scenario where if a dog is being exposed to a traumatic situation, whatever that may be, right? Whether they're getting beaten or they got a loudspeaker playing all day that stresses them out or whatever, I could see where, you know, it could just totally change them. That's, you know, I don't know if you guys want to interject on that, if you've had any type of experience with any of that.
I think there's a particular stage, maybe before 12 weeks, that a dog is real susceptible to imprinting. And I think you want as much as you want to socialize them and let them see as much as they can, you don't want them going into traumatic places right there, because they're going to remember certain sounds for the rest of their life. And just like and you know, you need to be there for them when they go through that and say, this is not that big a deal. And you know, but that before 12 weeks is a good imprinting time for them to take on new things, and they'll carry that with them for a long time.
You know what I got to say every time you speak, Donald?
Donald speaks.
He doesn't speak much, but when he does, man, let me tell you, let me pull up music up in here. There we go. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, man, I hope you guys are paying attention. I agree with you. I think imprinting is very important, whether you're throwing a dog in a ring, whether you're training them, whatever the case may be. Whatever they're going to see in those first 12 weeks is going to ease them into whatever life experiences that are going to be coming to them. RGB says that she definitely agrees that traumatic events can change a dog. We got Brayman Bull saying Raul and Roger 2 weeks in a row is gold. Adding gains is platinum. There you go, man. You see, Brayman Bulls, if you was a member, I definitely would have qualified this comment for a free spin, man.
Oh man, it's so neat watching and seeing that when you talk about imprinting, when you have dogs with great temperament that trained, and you see these puppies just watching and absorbing that environment, man. It's pretty nice, man.
That's crazy. I have a singleton right now, and I've never had one before. So here's a puppy that's in a whelping box, and he's not being influenced by his litter mates whatsoever. He is in a pure environment where he is developing into whatever he wants to be. And so I'm playing music, the TV's on. Yeah. He's getting so much light a day. He's getting interaction with me. You know, he's off mom now, so he's just in there by himself. And it's interesting to see how he behaves. He's big enough to walk around, obviously, now on his own. Not going to let him out of the whelping box and he'll walk around. He is, can't remember where he's at right now, but he acts like an adult dog. He just walks around, lays around. Like, he doesn't have that behavior like a lot of puppies have. He acts like an adult dog.
It sounds to me like he's an alpha. And I think him being an alpha, I mean, do you think the dog's predisposition of being an alpha, a beta, or an omega also has something to do with this? Because what you're talking about, Roger, at least to me, sounds like an alpha. I've had dogs in the past, and people know from my yard and my videos and whatnot, them independent dogs that they could care less what everybody else is doing. They got things figured out for themselves or whatever. It almost seems like their life experience is different than that of the others. What you got, Mike?
Just on what you're saying, I think what Roger's saying, like having a singleton puppy, he hadn't got a chance to see where he fit in that hierarchy of that litter. So all he getting is from Roger. You know what I mean? From the family right there. So he don't have to compete. Well, whether you're an alpha or a beta, that's just my opinion.
No, absolutely. And that's valid. Now, you could be a singleton and still be an omega and a beta. You could still be, a dog that just gives it up easy and you aren't knuckleheaded, hard-headed, independent, all these things. But you also bring up a very valid point. I wonder if being a singleton creates a propensity for you to be an alpha, since, like you said, there is no competition. And not only that, the stages that you're going through, like the bite inhibition stage, you don't have another puppy to bite you back, right? So basically you're going through that with mom. I wonder if there's a trainer out there or a dog behaviorist or whatever, if you could drop your 2 cents, I wonder if that makes the dog more, creates a propensity for them to become more of an alpha. I just wonder. I think it's quite possible.
So I'm trying to fill that role is what I'm doing.
Right.
Is I'm giving him toys. So I'm in the whelping box with him. So, the ripping and tearing at the toy and the growling and the rolling, and I'm involved in that process. And then I'm picking him up and I'm turning him over on his back and I'm putting him in my arms.
Put your hand on his chest.
Yeah. And I'm letting him get all pissed off and having him realize, okay, you're in charge.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can still be a wild man and play and be good. But,
Yeah.
you know, getting him used to loud music, like if this dog ends up being a show dog, I want him to walk into an ABKC show ring and not be surprised by nothing.
Mhm.
So he's finally old enough. We have an oldie that's a little bit older than him. And, you know, I introduced him to the oldie just to see what he would do. You know, he goes over there, sniffs him, you know, bites at his ear a little bit. Next thing I know, he's off by himself playing. He could care less about that dog.
Yeah. He's definitely, his circumstance, I feel, also has played into him forcibly being independent. Would you think?
Yeah, I would think so.
He didn't have to sleep with other puppies or none of that. No. Didn't have to fight for food, you know, that sort of thing. So do you feel that maybe he's a little bit more calm or patient? What are some positive traits do you feel off of this Singleton, since you're getting the most recent Singleton amongst us, I want to guess?
I think he's a little – you'd have to – I can ask my wife too. I'll see what her opinion would be at some point. But, you know, for me, I feel like he's a little more focused on me when I'm present.
Okay.
So anytime I'm present, there's no other distractions. I'm his whole world when I'm around. So if I take the wall to the whelping box down and he jumps out and he's in the room, he's under my feet. He's right by me. He's going to drag one of his toys over. He's right by me. So I think there's a quicker connection to the human when there's no other litter mates around. He wants to, you know, he wants to be around somebody. You know?
Right.
He doesn't have any litter mates, so he just chose me.
So I have a question on that. Do you feel he chose you, or do you feel he's being dependent on you?
I would think dependent, but then when he gets in the mood to go do something, he doesn't care where I'm at.
Okay.
Like he's behind my chair chewing on the leg of it, or, you know, off doing what he wants to do. You know, at some point he'll come back to me, but, you know, given the opportunity, he's gone. You know, he'll just go. I'll have to yell for him every once in a while to see where he's at, because he'll be back behind the chair, behind the whelping box, like trying to tunnel through stuff. He's discovering his environment.
Good deal. What you got, Mike?
I think too is on the downside of that, as the dog, you know, grows and matures, that they can be might be a little bit more clingy or have some type of jealousy from other dogs, you know, if they feel like they ain't getting that same attention. Yeah.
Well, at one point he's going to transition to the kennel, right? And the kennel environment is very different.
Oh yeah.
You have your own space. So all of our kennels aren't separate. You'll see a lot of kennels where the dogs can't see each other. Our kennels are the opposite. Our kennels are all wide open. The dog can look down and see another dog that's 40 feet away. So they all live as a community. They all have to tolerate each other.
Yep.
And you would be surprised. I always tell people, like, you would look at this kennel, and originally when I even started using a kennel, I was like, man, I feel bad having to leave these dogs out here. I'd rather have them in the house. That dog, not only do they know this is their spot, this is their kennel, this is their bed. I can clean their floors, leave their doors open. I can go outside, cut the dogs loose from the field. They'll run in the building. They know exactly what kennel's theirs. They'll run right into it and jump on their bed. It's like their space. It's their comfort zone. So after a while, I started noticing that behavior, and I'm like, they seem super happy, because even if I changed their bed, that if I changed the material in their bed, they know it. You know, they come in and they're standing on the bed, smelling it. They're like, this is not my bed.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that. I have a very similar setup, you know, where my dogs, they're all next to each other. The one dog all the way at one end, the dog all the way at the other end. And also every month I purposefully switch where they're located. And it's funny because whenever they're puppies at first, you know, that first month that they're out there, and they get used to that one cell, they don't want to go to another cell. We
Right.
do that on purpose. We do it so that there is no such thing as sibling syndrome. So there is no such thing as any other type of bond that would be stronger amongst them over the bond that they would have with me or my wife or my daughter.
Right.
And also for them to realize that you have to constantly adapt. Maybe this month you're closer to the air conditioning in the middle, but next month you're going to be all the way at the very end.
The sweaty corner.
There's going to be a 3 degree. It's going to be a 3 degree difference. But I think that constantly evolving them in just little things like that, I think it's not only necessary, I think it keeps them active mentally. One of the things you don't want to do, in my opinion, is have a dog's mentality go stale. I think when their mentality goes stale, then you start getting aberrant behaviors. You may even get temperamental issues. And when I mean stale, I mean, like, for example, boredom. Think about it. If you were a dog in my kennel and you were stuck in the same freaking cell and we never changed the cell, I could only imagine there comes a point in time where it's like, same cell, same food, same dogs next to me. I don't know. They start developing, and I've heard people talk about this online and even on my platform. They start developing institutional mentality as if though they were a prisoner to a certain extent. What do you guys think about that? Have you ever seen a dog develop this type of behavior?
Kinda, believe it or not, it's a joke, but
okay,
we'll bring a dog into the house. We'll be in the house for a little bit, and I'll be like, all right, time to go back out to Gen Pop, like, because that's what we call it. But they are, in a lot of ways, they do get kind of institutionalized, because I can bring one of my boys in, they don't want to be in. Oh, I thought I was in here to be collected. No, I'm not.
Right. Oh yeah,
they go to the door.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in there. So even if Dino wants to, like, make him the couch dog for the night, he doesn't want to be. He'll jump down, he'll go to the door, and if I open the door, he'll run straight to the kennel door. Like, that's where he wants to be.
It's funny you say that, man, and I'm glad you did. I don't know if you guys do this. I collect my stud dogs, the ones we have on the property. I collect them once a week, right? Whether they're being collected to be shipped or not, we collect them once a week, and that's just to keep the sperm fresh. Because if you don't collect them for 2 months and all of a sudden somebody calls you and you got to ship, and the wigglers are not going to wiggle because they're going to be dying off, right? So, I don't know. Gaines, tell me how you guys do it. Do you guys collect your males on a weekly? Roger, I know you got 7 over there and others. How do you guys deal with that on a weekly basis, or do you?
Like the current stud dog that we've got right now, he's been maybe more than once a month getting pulled, and we're not fitting any trial runs, in between there. But if we went 3 or 4 months, it would start to worry me. I don't really worry. I want to do it at first with the young dogs just to make sure that it's going to be able to happen. But when it was easy and it was nothing to it, I don't so much worry about the young dogs as I do when I had one dog that was like 3 years old the first time he collected it. It was a bloody mess, and it was like that for like 2 times, very, very pinkish. You could tell a lot of dead semen, and like a week later, man, he was like spitting cotton out. So I understand the importance of keeping them regular.
Okay. All right. I mean, is there a particular I'm sorry, go ahead, Roger. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say, if I have a dog that, it hasn't been used for a couple weeks. Part of the communication process with your clients, they're telling, hey, my girl's at this, so where she's at as far as progesterone goes. You have enough of ahead of time. If he hasn't been collected in a little while, go out and collect him, kind of clean the pipes out. Right. That way, when your client calls and says, hey, I'm ready, boom, everything's up to date. It's fresh.
I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I've started adding to my contracts that you must give me a 2-week heads up. Because, you know, I've had clients where I don't know what they think is going on, and they're calling you on a Monday because they need the sperm on a Tuesday. What? Like, listen, bro, this dog, I have another dog that's studying. I mean, I need you to kind of give me a heads up just so I can know how to, you know, schedule you in and whatnot. We got Jose Andrade asking, what age is a good time to start pulling? What's a good age? When do you start pulling your dogs, man?
Well, it's not necessarily collecting, but getting him used to you being around there. There's no too young age. Get him used to, you know, when he's 8 weeks, 9 weeks, you know, you don't have to walk around all day, but get him used to you being in that area. Because the first couple times you collect him is going to be real awkward. Now, I don't know how many messages I get from people. I don't think I did it right. Something's wrong. I'm like, what, he didn't hump? No, he didn't hump. No, of course he didn't hump. Think about it. I'm like, there's some dude grabbing a hold of his thing right now. Like, it's not normal for him. No,
that's right.
It's gonna take him a minute.
Yeah,
so, right. No, I don't.
That's the funny part to me. The first pull.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm like they look like they just so bashful and shy, man. They curled up like they not doing
nothing. At you. They look at you like you're committing a crime.
From now on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, because I'm sure there's a lot of people watching and they're probably wanting to have an idea, right? So let's talk about the pulling process, and let's talk about the 3 parts, right, of the pull, right? Because you get an initial I forget the exact name for it, but what you get is when you first start pulling your dog, you're going to start seeing some clear, transparent liquid. That initial clear, transparent liquid is nothing more to clean the passage off of urine, you know, and get the, you know, the acidic level, kind of the pH level, better yet, get it to where it needs to be. When the dog humps, literally, that is when the sperm fraction is going to be shot forward. Okay, that's what you're collecting. You're not collecting the pre. That pre is not what you want. You want the sperm fraction, and it's typically, at least, you know, with my experience, is anywhere between 3. It's usually about 3 mLs, and you're going to see a real white cloudy. Now, when I get 3 mLs and he just finished humping, at that point, I usually take the bag off. If you want to stay there for an extra 10 or 15 seconds, no harm, no foul. And then what comes afterward is nothing more than prostatic fluid. And the only reason I mention this is because I've had people write to me. They're like, look at this. And they'll show you this 40 cc syringe, 40 ml syringe, full to the brim. And the poor dog's in the background with the tongue hanging out, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're like, I'm like, okay, great. Now you need to spin that, right? Yeah. Put that. I don't know how you're going to spin it unless you got many of these little vials. You're going to have to spin it. And that's how you get what's called the sperm pellet. Yes, a sperm pellet is real. As far as how early do I collect my dogs? I don't. Typically what I look for as far as sexual maturity, there's always a female in my yard that's in heat. Some way, somehow, there's always one. And when that male goes from, hey, what's going on, to all of a sudden, hey, mama, I already know that there's been a switch in his hormones, and I will start cutting him. In fact, all of my males, whenever I put on a blue nursing glove on, they could care less if there's a female in heat. If it's raining and lightning is coming down, they know it's party time for them, right? And that's usually the way it works.
Yeah.
Mike, you're saying, you wear a glove too, Mike?
No.
Is that it?
I ain't learned how to do that yet, man.
I ain't wearing no
I
gloves.
need that to
I
down
see Mike saying, yeah.
Break the
Good night.
camera out, Tweet.
You
I
wear
got
a
the
Michael
collection
Jackson
sleeve.
glove with the glitter on it?
Yeah. Hey, no, man.
But that-
yeah.
But that ties in, believe it or not. We were talking about them kind of being institutionalized.
Yes.
It's funny because they have now associated seeing a collection sleeve with being collected.
Exactly.
Right. So again, the boys don't want to come in the house. They don't want to be in the house. So I go out to the kennel. I open the door. Seven, Mac, whoever runs out. I pull the collection sleeve out of my pocket. Boom. Beeline for the kennel door. Run straight
Okay.
down to the house and straight into the room where they get collected. Female's not even there yet.
Yeah.
You know, they
I'm
know
sorry,
the process.
I got to stop you there. We have a spin, Roger. We got to spin.
Okay.
So the way we do it is this person just wrote a comment. I want you to give me a thumbs up for a spin or a thumbs down. All right. And Sarata's saying, I have seen strange institutionalized behavior in horses where they get weird habits like weaving, kind of rocking back and forth on feet or biting stalls, acting like stale. We call it bar sour in horses. You want to give them a thumbs up for a spin or not?
Sure. Good
All
boy.
right. So
We had horses at one time too. So
okay. So that's right up your alley in that case. All right, and Sarata, you could tell Mr. Roger Stout, thank you, as this is your spin. Here we go. And come on. All right, spin again. All right. You're safe. You're safe at first. We're gonna do it again. Let's see what you get. Come on. All right, you get to spin one more time.
Hey, look at that.
Third time.
Hey, I think that's the first time I've ever seen that happen. Here we go.
That means you're gonna hit the jackpot, man. That's what happened at the casino.
Yeah.
get a free collection
Oh, man. Well, all right. We're going to keep it going. Thank you, Kyle, for reminding me. Raj, didn't mean to interrupt you, man. Just, we got to bring it up every so often so our peeps can get their accessories coming in, man. But I agree about them becoming more institutionalized. Check it out. We have Christopher Holiday asking, do you use a certain color glove? I guess, Chris, it's important for you, right? To know. I use the blue glove, man. I try to make sure that, it's blue. There has been on some occasions I've had to use green ones. But I can tell you, irregardless, if there's a glove in my hand, even if I'm just going to go do some yard work, if the males see it, they immediately associate it to being collected.
Hey, tell him.
Doesn't change the mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris would just get some hand sanitizer, man.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it. Have you guys ever pulled barehanded?
I mean, that's the only way I do
Mike,
it.
what happened?
Collection sleeve.
Mike went
Use a
from
collection
a full
sleeve.
laugh. He went from a full laugh to.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, listen.
Donald pulled tugboat, man. You got to use two hands on that.
All right. Well, definitely, I can tell you, man. Back when I first started, I remember I had to pull Fireball, and I hadn't pulled him yet, and there was no female in heat. I'll never forget. I went in there and I was trying to collect him, and he was looking at me like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, this is wrong. You have broken the bond between us.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how you was seeing me at that moment. So the reason I bring that up, guys, is because I feel that the best way to get your dog used to you pulling and all that is if you have a female in heat, okay? One of the things I do, for example, is I'll grab paper towel and rub it on her cooter and then put it in a Ziploc bag, zip it up, and put it in the freezer, right? Whenever I need to collect Fireball, I let him I bring it out, let it thaw out a little bit, let him take a whiff of that, and he's good to go. Don't just offer up a stud, not have a female, and you have never collected them, and think that all of a sudden you're going to collect. Because I could tell you, those first collections I had of him, that sperm pellet, once I went ahead and ran through the centrifuge, was about a quarter size of what I normally get. So, they're not human, but they are beings, and they need a certain type of excitement and whatnot in order to be able to, produce adequately. So
exactly.
Have you guys ever ran into a situation where you sent sperm and I don't know, it didn't work out for some reason? The wigglers weren't wiggling or anything to that effect?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think every breeder goes through it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had situations for some reason where I've had a couple shipments that I sent toward the West Coast, and they just wouldn't show up in good shape when they got there. And the weird part was, I was like, what is going on exactly? I had back-to-back, so one day I had to send it to Texas. The next day I had to send it to California. Same dog. Showed up beautiful in Texas. Everything was good. Showed up in California. Wasn't great.
Yeah.
And it got me to the point where I was like, what are they doing to my semen when I send it? So I ended up sending it to California freight. Just drove up to Pittsburgh, put it on a plane, had them go to the airport, pick it up. It was just fine. So I don't know if it was a weird situation, something going on with shipping. But yeah, I mean, we've actually had it happen on both ends. We've had studs that we received and the semen wasn't in great shape. And then you should always have a backup plan. I know you have it set up in your mind. I'm using this stud,
Right.
but you should always have a backup plan, because shit happens. There's just nothing you can do about it. You're going to have to make all the best plans in the world, and something's going to go sideways. And sometimes that's waking that semen up, and instead of having, 75, 80% motility, you've got 40. And you got to decide, do I want to do a surgical and use this week's semen and hope that it happens? Or do I use a backup stud that I have that's maybe local? Yeah. Because by the time you generally figure that out, it's go time.
Yeah.
Right.
There's not enough time for another shipment.
Yeah, right. No, I totally agree. I've always told peeps have plan A through Z, because what can go wrong will go wrong. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Today, I had to ship semen from Fireball, and I woke up early and collected him. He couldn't be happier to be collected. I drove to FedEx. As soon as I get there, it's closed. It's Labor Day. I forgot about it. So did the owner. So I got to redo it again tomorrow. But say tomorrow morning he's going to do a progesterone, she may have passed her time. You see what I'm saying? Had he had plan B, which might have been a local stud or whatnot, at least that particular breeding cycle, he wouldn't have lost the opportunity, to run him through. I could tell you, most breeders, I want to guess, have like a little science lab. I have a little science lab right here where, we have our centrifuge, we have progesterone machine, I got my microscope, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, I had a guy one day call me straight out of the blue, like at 2 a.m. talking about, Raul, I love power. This one dude sent me sperm. It didn't work, this, that. Can you send it to me? I hadn't collected power in about 2 months. Okay. And we're talking about this way back when I was starting out. And I went ahead and collected power, put the sperm under the microscope. Everything looked good. Here's the issue, guys. When you haven't collected a dog, I believe every 60 days or so is when the sperm becomes old and gets replaced, something to that effect. And long story short, when you first collect them, you're going to see the wigglers wiggling, and based on motility and number, everything is going to look good. Everything's going to add up. If you wait an additional half hour and you look through the microscope again, that's when you're going to be able to compare. And you'll see they went from doing this to literally doing this. This doesn't work. This will not impregnate. You could pour the entirety of the sperm on one egg and they won't get in there. They need to be able to wiggle. So that's how I came about. I pretty much smacked my head. I remember shipping the sperm to the guy. He had talked so much about this other dude that shipped sperm to him and it was useless. And I got totally embarrassed when he received it and took it to his place. And they were like, dude, they just told me your sperm is dead. I'm like, what? It was great here, blah, blah, blah. And, the vet told me that. And I immediately collected power and I verified it. And he was absolutely right. So, you got to take your lumps sometimes and learn, man.
Yeah, we had incidents too.
Okay.
We was breeding. We had to breed at nationals.
Okay.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, we got the numbers right one Friday morning, and it was where we needed to breed Saturday night, and there was no way. We were trying to breed a Waffle House at the time, and he was a different location. It just wasn't going to happen. So we had a Waffle Son in mind, and we were able to meet him live, and Lance Lee saved the day for us by allowing us to do a breeding at nationals.
Yeah, at nationals.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Infamous is asking, how long will extender keep the semen good for? And I think this is kind of a good question because it can keep the sperm on a cool catch up to 5 days. It could be alive inside of the female. Now, guys, I've read a lot about this, and please, I want to hear y'all's input. Keep in mind, because the sperm is alive, it doesn't mean it can inseminate. It must have motility. And the motility dies off. Anything below 50% motility, you're really rolling the dice, right? So, yeah, sperm can be alive at 5 days inside of the female, but can it impregnate? And the reason I'm mentioning this is because somebody out here right now is probably watching this thinking, oh, I could always do the TCI or the surgical a couple days early because sperm is going to be alive for 5 days. You don't want to do that. There's a reason why you want the numbers to be at 18 on an IDEX when you're going to do surgical or a TCI. And for those of you that don't know what a TCI is a trans-cervical insemination, and that's when an instrument bypasses a closed cervix in order to push the sperm in, right? You want to do it when it's at 18 because by the time that female hits an 18 on the IDEX, supposedly the eggs are all mature and ripe to be inseminated. That's the other part of the coin. Because if you do it too early, the eggs, they need 48 hours, right, to be able to be ready. So let's just say a female goes into her breeding cycle and she hits, say, a 10 on a Monday. And then on Tuesday, she goes up to maybe a 12, then 14, so on and so forth. Well, on that Monday, let's say she has a total of 10 eggs she's going to drop on this particular cycle. On that Monday, she may drop 2 eggs. On Tuesday, she may drop 3 eggs. On Wednesday, she may only drop 1 egg. Okay. And then based on the day that she's dropping the eggs, you got to give it 48 hours for them to mature, right? This is the reason you want to wait until it's 18, because typically by the time she gets to 18, she has dropped all the eggs she was going to drop in that 5-day window. And they should be, the majority, if not all, should be mature to be fertilized. Guys, you want to jump in on this? Anything you want to add or
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing, especially when you're doing like a TCI or just a natural, just an AI, one thing you want to keep in mind is just because you stuck it in there doesn't mean they don't have a trip to swim still. And I think a lot of people think it's in there and it's done. And no, the sperm still got to get up in the ovaries. It's still got to swim up into the fallopian tubes.
Yep.
It's got a trip. And during that process, not only does it have this weak sperm are going to die because it's just too much for them. They don't have enough energy stored. On top of that, you got white blood cells in her body that says, hey, this is an alien body. And it starts attacking the sperm.
Yep.
So when you're using a greatly diminished sample, if you don't do a surgical, you're almost guaranteeing yourself you're not going to get it. because if they're coming out of the box at 50% of the power they should, they've still got a lot of obstacles to go through before they get there. So you want good motility, but so they stand a chance of making that trip to the fallopian tubes.
There's a comment Shane Caress just dropped that goes exactly with what you just said, Roger. How long does frozen last? Well, just know frozen usually lasts the same as clean as cool or clean catch and cool. But here's the deal about frozen: when it gets thawed, immediately 50% of the sperm are immobile; they're dead. So he just said right now, if your numbers are already low, let's say the motility's there, but now you're going from, say, 2 billion to 1 billion, it makes a difference. It makes a world of difference. And this is why if you're ever going to be using frozen, I would strongly recommend you do surgical over TCI. I usually view TCI and surgical as pretty much the same because the sperm end up in the same place just about. But here's the advantage of surgical over TCI. So let's get this little Iverhart Max thing here so I can show you. So, the female's uterus, it actually has 2 horns, right? A left and a right. And typically, whenever a surgical is done, they're going to open your female up and you're going to see these 2 little horns popping up, and they're going to grab a syringe, right, where the sperm is at with the extender, and they're pretty much going to prick it with the needle and shoot 3 mLs into each horn, typically 3 to 4 mLs, no more than that. The advantage you have on a surgical over TCI in this particular scenario is that they're able to massage the ovary, the uterus horn right there, right then and there. Roger just said, when you shoot it right in, they still have to travel up and this and that. Well, this is true, but once the vet surgically does that, if you let them know, or they should be well aware if it's frozen and the numbers are lower or whatnot, and they should help you out, and they should mechanically massage the sperm up for you. Whereas with TCI, it's going to pretty much shoot it in that area, and that is all you're going to get. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I have noticed better success rate. For example, I used to have a vet in Arkansas a couple years ago. I was having great results with him, and he would tell me exactly. I couldn't be in the room, but I was outside of the room, and I could see the operating table from a screen, and he would literally massage that the uterus horns once he shot the sperm into them in order to just push them along a little bit better. Let me see what else. How long are females fertile? Let me ask this: what's the highest you guys ever had a female progesterone wise take? What's the highest you've ever seen a female take on a progesterone machine?
Yeah, well, we use IDEX, so it only goes to 20.
Yeah.
And we've had several take over 20.
Over 20.
Over
Right.
20. Yeah. So and here's another thing. I'm starting to see a pattern of I have less females that there are 4.6 one day, and we wait 2 days and she's a 9. And then we wait a couple more days and she's a this. No. I don't know if it's catching or what, but I have females, know me Malone last time. We did a progesterone. She was a 4.6. I said, all right, I'm going to wait 48 hours because to me, 4.6 is ovulation. Good. We're good.
Right.
4.6, we're going to wait 2 days. I'm going to progesterone test her. Now, in my opinion, she's ready to breed in 2 days, but I'm going to progesterone test her. I'm going to see where her numbers are. So I take her in for a progesterone test, 19.
I know. Yeah. And that, Kyle is I don't know if you're able to see Kyle. Hold on. Y'all got to see his face. There he is. There he is.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. That girl, every time, look, and this has happened the last 3 or 4 times we've done this. Progesterone's at a 1 for like 5, 6, even 10 days. Then all of a sudden, 8, 16, 24, gone.
Right.
And it's always on a Sunday. It's
On
always
a Sunday.
Yeah.
Always.
The last 4 times was on a Sunday. How do you can't make that up? I've done learned. I told Raul, look, this is a blessing because I've learned so much with this one female. I'll never have to learn it again.
Right.
Yeah.
This one female's giving me all the knowledge I ever need for doing it.
Dang.
Let me give you the exact thing we did this last week, and it happened on a Wednesday. We went for our first progesterone test, and she was like a 1.2, and then we went Friday, and it was a 2.6. So now we wait till Monday, and it says over 20. So I mean, it's hard to gauge when things are happening that fast. So we were able to get the semen in that Tuesday and went ahead and did it as soon as we could on Tuesday. But that was Monday being over 20. So what do y'all guys think her chances are of that taking?
She did a surgical.
We did a surgical on Tuesday.
Yeah, you're probably fine.
Yeah, you're probably going to lose 1 or 2 eggs, if that. You know, I had look, man. I've had it where I've had females go up so fast. I've said it here. My girl Latessa, she would bleed for 2.5 years. She wouldn't take. She would bleed, and after 2.5 years, I was like, you know what? I always wait until she finishes bleeding by the time I do progesterone, and it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it from day one. On day one, she's at a 4. Like, what the hell? So
Right.
this female split heating on me, and I was able to figure her out this way. You know, I think there's a variety of factors. I've sat here and told you guys many a times. I think the mental part's the most important because I feel that everything is hormones, right? And hormones start with the pituitary gland. And where's that located? In your brain, right? And then that, you know, creates a chain reaction of events. I don't have a study. I don't have something where I can prove what I'm about to say, but I can tell you there's been females that we've studied that were pets that, I mean, they were a breed quality, but they were in a home where they were the only dog, or it was them and a little dog, and that was it. And they were loved on, and they could jump on the couch and do this, that, and the third. Person could care less about breeding, but they just, you know, they just wanted to get one puppy off for her, this and that. We shoot fireballs, sperm over there. We got 16 puppies. How the hell did you get 16 pups?
Yeah.
My only take is this dog is living in her mind. You know, she's living the life. She's being loved on. She's happy all the time. Are you going to say that my dogs are not being loved on? No, I feel my dogs are being loved on. But because I am a breeder, because we do have a kennel, there's other factors that I must also consider, you know, take into account. I'll give you a perfect example. The female that we sent over to Kyle, let me bring her up. Her name is Cafe. Cafe, one of the reasons we went ahead and moved her to Kyle's was because she was stressing out the dogs that were the cell to her left and to her right. She became obsessed at barking at both sides. So now she was stressed out herself, and she was stressing out my other bitches. Guess what? That summer, everybody consumed puppies. You see what I'm saying? So I know that there's a mental link to that. Now, can I sit there and give you numbers, and do I have the study and all that? I don't. I can't tell you that. But you know, I've had so many people that just sporadically have bred to their so-called pet, and the numbers are off the charts. Same dog. So, it's throughout the same. First breeding, day 9, my girl was at 8. On day 11, she was at 30. So within 3 days, that's how I got a singleton. Yeah. You know, one of the reasons, guys, you've noticed that I now have brought in pups mostly is because, unfortunately, my experience has been that sometimes breeders can be unreliable as far as their services with their stud. And sometimes it's not even the breeder. Sometimes it could be the vet that is collecting and shipping for them. I can tell you right now, we had a scenario where I have a dog somewhere, and we were filling out the form, and it's like, they were close to asking for a brucellosis, showing for a brucellosis vaccine. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. As much genetic testing as we do, and as much as we do on everything, I've never done a brucellosis shot on any one of my males. Have you guys ever done a brucellosis shot?
You have to when you ship overseas.
Okay. So here's the deal. Yeah. So here's the deal. They're requiring that, and you already know here nationally, 99.99% of the studs don't have a brucellosis shot. For those of you asking, brucellosis is almost the equivalent of, say, herpes in human terms compared to dogs. It's just a virus that one dog could pass on and that sort of thing. And so my whole point is this breeding could have hinged on something that we know for a fact that 99% of the dogs out here don't have. And so because of that type of unreliability, I have decided, you know what, I think it's better for me to come in-house, because I feel like if I have a male in-house, my female is showing she's at 8 or 10. Dude, I'm not even testing anymore. I'm a TCIU every single day for the next 5 days. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to retest you then just to make sure you're over 20, just so I'm totally convinced you are. That's it. Yeah. Makes my life that much easier. I will announce something. I won't say the whole thing, but recently we just studied to Roger's boy 7. We didn't study. We use his stud services. I can tell you, Raj, and I'm not saying this because you're on my live. I felt you were kind of like me. Like it was refreshing to see, hey, she's ready now. Okay, boom, it's there the following day. There's no this, chasing. The sperm count's gonna be a little low because we used them yesterday and the day before yesterday and the day before that. And then the day we sent it to you that morning, we collected them again. And then, none of that crap. Right. So it was very refreshing to see that. How often do you guys feel, or percentage wise, the business that you guys have done in the past, as far as getting studies and whatnot, what percentage would you say you've dealt with people that are professional? Because I can tell you, as far as me, there's always a snag. It almost seems like there's always a snag in a twig. I'm somewhere around 60%. What are the percentages you guys have ever had to deal with?
Well, for instance, we breed to somebody like Roger.
Yeah, right.
Roger been known to travel to the show, stop the vehicle on the side of the road, pull the dog, and ship at the next stop. You know what I mean? So what the people we deal with, we had success with them breeders.
Yeah, I would say 100%, but we're trying to do all that work and make decisions before it's go time. And we work with Tone Rowland, we work with LaShawn Bernotis, Con Wynn, and we've got it down to we feel good about them before we put them on the spot and see what they're made of. You know,
good deal. Good deal. How about you, Raj? Now I know I'm not the only person that shows up at a show, collects the dog, and inseminates the female. I feel good about that now.
Ours was what was it, Kentucky, I think? Yeah, we were in Kentucky, and the client calls us on the phone. Now, this may be a little long-winded, but
right.
I started out at a lot of jobs like a lot of people did, like McDonald's when you were a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had like this mind to like try to make things as efficient as possible. So when I was on the grill cooking burgers at McDonald's, I had a system. You know what I mean? When I was drive-through, I had a system.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to me starting to stud out dogs, I had a system, and it was my responsibilities and what I feel are my responsibilities and what my clients' responsibilities are. So when I'm in a case where I'm dealing with you, you're an experienced person. I probably didn't communicate with you as much as I normally would because I already know you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're an experienced breeder. So I probably didn't experience, but with my newer clients, and we're having a conversation prior to you locking in my dog, so I can get a gauge for how experienced you are. Right.
Makes
so
sense.
from there, I'm like, the moment she drops blood on the floor, you message me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know the day she drops blood.
Exactly.
Not because I'm being a dictator about that, but I'm also going to assist you every step of the way. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? How long has she been bleeding? Oh, about 4 days. If it was me, just out of curiosity, I may take her in for a progesterone and see where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving it to you, but this is my suggestion. When they come back to me and they say, hey, she's at a 3, I think I'm going to wait till Friday. I probably wouldn't. She's a 3 right now. She could very well ovulate tomorrow. I would take her back. I understand that it's going to cost you in progesterone tests. I hate to inconvenience you, but what I don't want to do is for you to miss your breeding.
Yeah.
Because you told me the day of, I went to go test my female again. Okay, where's she at? Well, she's at an 18.
Yeah.
Well, I have another breeding today because that client planned everything out. So now I have to try to fit you in. I want to give you the 100% of the collection. Understand that my obligation is to give you 2 million or 2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
2 billion modal. That's my obligation. If I have the option to give you the whole collection, I will. I'll give you the whole thing. That boy will pull $1 billion easily. And I will send you the whole collection if he is the only breeding that day. So there's things we don't discuss with our clients because they don't know any better.
Right.
And so if I say he has 2 breedings today and I have to split it, oh man, no way. You're giving me half the collection?
Yeah.
They don't even know the numbers. They don't understand the numbers, but
the boy pulls $1 billion. I'm sending you 500 million, which is still more than really needed to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So there are certain conversations you don't need to have with your clients because you're just going to scare them.
Right.
And there are certain conversations you do need to have with your clients. So
good point.
If my communication level is good and I live up to my obligation and the client lives up to their obligation in our contract, then I feel like everything's good. It's those ones that you didn't test when I asked you to test. You tested 3 days later and now she's a 20. And it really... I'm not a hard ass kind of guy. And when you message me and you say she's a 20 today, I genuinely feel bad for you.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, brother. If I put this in the mail, by the time it shows up tomorrow, it wouldn't do any good. It's over. Game over.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad for them. And, they worry, I'm coming up on my 2 years. Don't worry about that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to screw my client. Just get a hold of me in 6 months. We'll do it again, but please test more often.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So any kind of failures that I've seen in the process have always been a lack of experience on one way or another. And it's always communication. The more you can communicate, the more you can get your client to listen to you and say, look, I know you're probably paying $75-$80 for a progesterone test. It sucks.
A pop. Yeah.
But if you do it, it could save your breeding. And
that's right.
Sucks,
what you're really doing there is if you test 4 times, that's going to be so cheap as compared to doing a surgical. And sometimes they want to save on a $60 progesterone test, and then they put themselves in a situation to have to do a $600 surgical insemination because that's where the numbers went that fast. And
exactly.
get ready to do it. Put that $200-$300 worth back and just understand that 1 or 2 extra progesterone tests are going to make everybody's life a lot better.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Don't come. Look, I've said it from the get. This is not a poor man's hobby. And if you're making financial decisions on breeding, it's the fastest way to piss everything away really quick. Straight up, man. If you're going to go with a $3,000 stud because he's cheaper than the $6,000 stud, I'm not saying the $6,000 stud may not be as good as a $3,000 stud. That's a different story. But 9 times out of 10, there's a reason that $6,000 stud is a $6,000 stud. You see what I'm saying? Real quick, man. Furman Broom says, pros and cons of co-owning a pup. Is it easier to co-own a female or a male, or does it matter? Furman Broom. Popping the cork, popping the genie out the bottle.
Yeah. Transition.
Talk to me. What is better to co-own, a male pup or a female pup? And don't think you're just going to give me that answer. I want to know why. Come on, guys.
Okay. Y'all want to go first? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Roger.
Oh, you want me? Okay. All right. Now,
we're playing hot potato here, guys.
Okay, that's cool. I've had experience on both ends. So I started out with doing a lot of co-owning. So I've co-owned males and females. I've also co-owned out males and females. And I think who I co-own to and why has a lot less to do with like what I want, but what I think is the right move for the dog. So I get lots of people that will want to co-own. We're like, hey, I want to co-own a dog with you. Okay, well, you live in Idaho.
Right.
I'm not going to send you a show dog, right? Because there's no show scene in Idaho.
Right.
So, people will message you and be like, hey, I want to get a show dog, blah, blah, blah. And I live in Idaho. And I'm like, I just don't, I may have a really show worthy dog, but I'm not going to send it to Idaho. You know what I mean? The other thing is a lot of my co-owns are more on a personal level. Like I know these people. They're not just people that shot me a message one time. And I've got people that have been messaging me over a year and they're breeding with other people and they're messaging me all the time. They're communicating with me on a regular basis. We've built a rapport. I understand there are guys that I talk to weekly that if I had a dog up for co-own and let's say it was a breeding female, I know a number of people I would immediately send that female to if they wanted it, right? Because of their location, because of their level of experience. This is why these dogs go where they go. They don't go there because of money. Money is a factor, obviously.
Right.
But I'm not going to send a show dog to a place where no one shows. And I'm not going to send a breeding female to a guy. He doesn't have to know how. I can teach him how. That's part of us partnering up. Is my job is that I'm going to put the female in your hands. I'm here for you. Message me. We'll work together. We'll do what we got to do. But honestly, I'd rather deal with people that don't know what they're doing because at least I can teach them what they work at, what I do. You know,
do it your way.
Because you're a pre-existing breeder, you've been doing things the same way for years. You may not do them the way I like them done, and that could cause a level of conflict. And I don't want that. I want everyone to get along. So, I've got as far as it depends on the dog, male, female, depends on what the dog's purpose is. Before I'll co-own with a person.
When you co-own with that person, do you ever give them the dog's paperwork?
No. I'll give them a copy of the paperwork, and the dog is in their name. They're listed as a co-owner, but I hold the paper, and if the dog titles, I hold the titles. I give them a copy of those titles, but I hold the titles. At some point, if it's a female, when she's bred out, I'm only in for 2 breedings. So after that second breeding, she's 100% yours. I'm signing her over to you.
I agree.
She's 100% yours. You've earned your keep with her. Studs, that's a lifetime thing. If you're a stud, if I co-own a stud with you, we're partners on the stud forever. And I'll hold the papers, and it's not like a thing like I'm not trying to. You have the dog, so I need to have something too. We're going to keep it fair and equitable. So I keep the paperwork. You have the dog. But that's the other thing is I'm always a good rapport with my co-owners. I never want them to feel like I am being overbearing or demanding with them. You know, if I put a dog in a show home and for some reason that dog doesn't get shown, I understand it's part of how life works.
It's a risk. It's a risk you're taking.
Yeah. I made a prediction of what I thought would happen, and it didn't happen. Well, if I did that with investing in crypto or investing in the stock market, I had an expectation of what happened. It doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. So you can't blame people for that. So I never worry about things. After I've made my decision, I put the dog where I believe it needs to be. I don't worry about it anymore. We'll just deal with things as they come.
I feel I have a very similar approach as yours in that whatever happens, I have an understanding that there is a risk in any type of business you do. Obviously, I'm going to hedge the risk to my favor as best as possible. Like in your case, if you have a show quality dog, you want to try and put it in a show quality home, right? But then the wife got sick and they couldn't take the dog anymore to the show. Well, that's part of life, like you said, and it is a risk. And the same goes with any litter. You could have a litter, and like I've always said, out of 10 pups, you're going to have 2 show quality pups. You're going to have a great majority, 6 or 7 middle of the pack, and then you're going to have that one puppy that's just pet quality home, and it is what it is. Now, I know a lot of us want to be 100% assured. There's no such thing as 100% in life. Nope. As far as me, I've co-owned a majority of my Excels. I can tell you 305 is no longer in my yard. He's accessible to me, but he's not in my yard. Macho was also moved away from my yard. I've also moved some females like Chanel and Athena away from my yard. They're still accessible. We're still they're still part of the QBN family. They're just no longer in my yard. I agree with a lot of what Roger said, in that the newer person that wants me to take them under my wing is the person usually I want to work more for. Why is that? Because when you come into this industry, like any other industry, if you're a breeder that's been doing it for 10 years or so, and I don't know you as much. I don't know what your backstory is. I don't know what bad habits you've picked up along the way. I don't know. So it just raises a lot more question marks. Also, if you're a breeder and you've been doing this for 10 years, I don't know if you could care less if I keep the paperwork and you keep the dog and inbreed the dog and then, hang paperwork on it and keep walking your merry way. Whereas somebody that is new and is wanting you to take them under your wing, they're more apt to want to learn how to do things the right way and so on. Some people may see that as, oh, well, that puts you in a position of leverage. Well, it may, but at the same time, we don't take things to the point where we have the litter, all 10 pups are mine and nothing is yours. See, that's where people start getting greedy, in my opinion. And that's when the shit starts hitting the fan, because if I co-own a female with you and we have a litter, half of the litter's yours and half of the litter's mine. If we have a stud and that stud is being studded and he's co-owned to you, we're going to split the stud fee. That's just how it's going to go. Because if you go too greedy, what's going to end up happening is they're going to steal the dog, essentially. So I don't think a male or a female really matters. I think what really matters more than anything is that, for me anyways, is that person wants to do what's right and is in constant communication with me, right? Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because if you do things the way I'm telling you to do them, right, I have a template in my head and we do things in this way. So immediately when something happens and a red flag comes up, I immediately know how to extinguish it. Whereas if you were doing things all wonky all over the freaking place, and then you're calling me up, you know what I'm saying? It's not the system doesn't fit what I do systematically. So that's pretty much it. Gaines, what do you got, man? How do you?
It's easier to prevent those fires than it is to put fires out, and you know, that constant communication. So we're doing things on the same page. I think when we co-own it, it's all about the person. You know, we have to really trust somebody, and we have to want to enjoy talking to that person over a 5-year period. And you know, it's been good for us, and we've met good people. But whenever what you're looking for is if they get hints early that the person is not going to be in it for the same reasons as you. And I know if I took a dog co-owned, because I love the breed so much, and I was just grateful to have one of Roger's dogs and one of his good breeding. I don't really do that so I'm going to be rich one day. I do that because I love that dog so much. And it takes a lot of effort to seek those people out. And I think the more effort you put into deciding who that dog is going to, it'll never disappoint you. It's always going to pay off. But if they're doing a lot of math at first of well, I got half of this, what, you know, we're going to make 25,000 this year, and they're going, I'd get 1,250. You know, they probably not. They might not be in it for the same reasons as you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Donald speaks.
It's just two things on that. Like he said, we got a real good vetting process. We built good relationships. We talk to people when people reach out for a dog or something like that. If it's something that, like Roger said, that we want to continue to build off or something like that, and then that way, you know, not only getting pups, but then also getting to get where we're at already. They already got all the homework we've done, and they're already up. So, you know, you put the energy behind the right people. But then on the other hand, too, you got other breeders. Raul might be like, "What? Mike Green and them did what? You don't understand with him, and you take them every week over there, man. They did y'all unfair." Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you got all them ears when somebody see a great dog go somewhere.
Right.
You will have ears going there either to you know, like they may leverage or, you know, to use that stud or to breed the female you give them to their stud and go outside of the plans that you guys had that could really pull them back and forth. So
yeah, they want to renegotiate.
Right.
You
they
know,
want to renegotiate. But
you know, and you say 9 out of 10 times this dog wouldn't have took off like they did. And then you're trying to explain that half of $25,000 is way more than all of nothing. Right. You see, and
I think you bring
breeder really. You as a breeder, really, you got to have like a zero expectation.
Right. There you go.
It's only fair. Because I can hand the dog off to you, and I could easily say, and the opposite could be true. You know, in their early days, you know, when Sam co-owned Machiavelli with me, I can tell you 100%, Mac would have been, in the first year of his life, first 2 years of his life, would have been a far more popular dog if he would have stayed with Sam. Sam knew full well co-owning this dog with these new people means he's not going to live up to the potential that he could potentially live up to if he stayed with me. That is a sacrifice that you are consciously making. You know, if I keep this dog, because I have a reputation for having 7-size dogs and all these other dogs, that when I introduce a new dog, there's a certain amount of take for granted that you've produced another one of those. Right. But when you hand that dog off to a new person, the community has zero confidence in new people. Could care less. Because look at all the variables that could go wrong. They don't know how to breed. They don't know nothing about the dog. They're just getting started. Yeah. You know what I mean? They will choose, even if your dog is better, they may choose to go with a more established breeder just for the fact that they're going to avoid all these problems. Yep. So I don't put expectations on my new cones. I'm going to give it, this is a nice dog, but I'm giving it to you so you can build your program. We're going to be partners. You're going to build your program. If it's a female, you're going to have puppies. If it's a male, you're going to have a stud that you can use. And I'm going to give you every bit of knowledge that I have. I'm going to share with you whatever I can. By the time our time is up and we can technically go separate ways, my hope is that you don't actually want to. You know?
Right.
When the contract is fulfilled, you may want to get another dog from me, or we just became friends and we just stay in contact. So,
this is really refreshing to hear, man. I can tell you that my co-owns are people that throughout the years were seeking information, were usually either my best students or just people we conversated with. I can tell you, I don't necessarily co-own with people that ask me for co-own. I actually am the one that approaches, and says, I don't tell them this obviously, but there's such a level of trust and confidence I have in you. I have this here that can maybe help your yard. What do you think? And like you said, we're going to be partners, and everything I can do to make this dog successful in your yard, I'm going to do it, because it's a win-win situation for both of us. Whenever you get that, off-clip person that you don't know, it's constantly in your DM. They're saying all the right things. Guys, I hate to burst your bubble. I'm pretty sure these other three gentlemen up here with me, we see right through people's bullshit really quick. Anyone can talk and say the pretty words and say the right things. If you have not been on my platform, if I haven't seen you, if I haven't communicated with you outside of co-ownership or money, and seeing that true passion and trust in you, I will never do a co-own with you. And that's just the truth, man. I mean, I'm sure there's other breeders out there. No, buddy, no, for sure. That's great. I'm just keeping it real with you. If we don't see your true identity, your true intentions, more likely than not, why would I put a dog whom, I've worked with for the last 4 years, who's studying on an annual basis, is producing anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000 a year? Why would I put that in your hands if I don't have that utmost trust that your intentions are actually pure and that you're not going to turn around and screw me over? That's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? That's just a fact of life.
And things go sideways. It's not all. That's the other thing, is like, I saw someone brought up their problems with co-owns. And I'm not saying you're not going to have a problem. You could, because problems come up, And we had one. We had a male that we thought was going to be very nice. We co-owned him. Despite our recommendations, they did some things that we didn't recommend they do right away. And the dog ended up getting sick, ended up losing a lot of weight right at a very critical time in the dog's life, right in that growth spurt area.
Developmental stage.
And that really set that dog back. After it got well and it got better, it never caught up. It never got to be what his brother was, and they kind of came at us at first like, hey, this dog didn't turn out the way you said it was going to. And when I immediately realized they didn't identify the fact that what happened to that dog was the sickness, they immediately kind of came to me and said, hey, what are we going to do? This dog didn't turn out. I know why the dog didn't turn out. I don't need to have that conversation. Obviously, at this point, this is over with. There's no sense in having an argument.
Sure.
So in that point, we had a discussion. What's going to make everyone happy? What'll make you happy? What'll make us happy? How do we work this out? That one, I ended up just signing the dog over to him. Dog's 100% yours. You can do whatever you want with him.
Right.
Not something I would normally do, but this is a situation where I just wanted to end that on good terms. And, we maybe had a disagreement on why things went wrong. And the easiest way to do it was just terminate the contract, sign the dog over, and be done with it.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things. You're going to lose good dogs in the welcoming box. You're going to lose good dogs because something messed up happens to them genetically. There's a ton of stuff, and things are going to happen to your dogs when you cone them out. It's just part of it. You can't blame everyone for everything that happens. It's just part of life. So,
with that being said, I have a question for everyone up here. I want you guys to let me know how important it is to supplement your dogs, particularly in the developmental stage, between when they're pups all the way through a year and a half, right before the bone seal, or even through that. But before you do, let me just play this so everyone can get a sip of water. We'll be right back.
Guys, real quick, let me talk to you about Nuvet and New Joint Plus. This is a multivitamin. This is joint support. Many people out here have done before and after pictures showing you the improvement that this alone brings to the table. If you're feeding kibble, if you're feeding raw, there could be some insufficiencies that are actually causing structural issues to your dog. Wouldn't you want to correct that? This is just it. The multivitamin that'll do it for you is Nuvet and also joint support with New Joint Plus. I recommend both bottles. We're going to go ahead and leave a link in the descriptions below. Now let's get back to it.
Guys, and get back to it, we shall. Let me know, how important is supplementation for you guys, do you feel, with your dogs? Either one.
No, it's great. I mean, to have supplements, you know what I mean, do that part of it, especially if you're feeding dry food, you know what I mean, dry dog food, to sub some of that, get a lot of that nutrition back. I think the other important part is, especially on a developing dog, is to make sure that they're not, they're not, how do you say, you're not overworking them, putting stress on the joints, stuff like that. So it all goes hand in hand, but supplements for sure.
Okay. What type of supplements y'all use, man?
Oh, we use New Joint Nuvet, man.
Okay. Yeah, we tried other things. They love it. We've got as good results with that as we have anything that we've ever tried, and yeah, we're loyal followers of Nuvet at this point.
What changes have you seen in particular? Because I know you don't only have pups. I think when we started you on Nuvet, your dogs are already pretty much adults. Is there anything you've seen that you can say, hey, you know what? I really attested to this because I didn't see it before.
The first thing immediate what I noticed was the coat. That's the first thing you're gonna see. So that just assures me they got good gut health. I think not the dry skin and none of that stuff. I noticed in the coat first.
Yeah, I noticed that dogs that are knuckling over during a growth spurt, that it's a short-term thing that they're going to be knuckling over. You just know you're putting the right stuff in there, and it goes away faster. You might, you're just in general raising healthier dogs, particularly in the growing area. Up to 15 months, I would really swear by any of it.
Good deal. How about you, Roger? Do you supplement, and if so, what do you use, and how do you feel about it?
I do, and basically what I do is I say, okay, until this dog is a year old, his bones are made of glass. I'm going to do whatever I can do to protect this dog. So no overly romping, no overplaying. Supplement. Now, I've never used Nuvet. We've always used what is it? I can't even remember the name of it.
Suregrow.
Yeah, we've always used Suregrow 100. I always call it Keep It 100.
Yeah.
But Suregrow. We've always given Suregrow, and then we do supplement. Just depends on what I feel like the dog needs. There are some dogs will have terrible coats. Maybe I'll give them a little vitamin E oil in their food to help kind of clear their coats up. It just depends on. It's an individual basis, really.
Yep.
But having a good solid supplement for me, absolutely a requirement.
I totally agree. I could tell you, I was doing my own supplementation being a nurse and wanting to do my own thing all the time, I did run into a couple of things. For example, I was feeding barf diet or raw diet, and it brings in the fact that you got to use offal or pretty much organ meat, such as, for example, chicken liver, that sort of thing. The problem lies, at least for me, what was happening was I felt that, here in America, we put so much crap into chicken, whether it's steroids, antibiotics, whatever, growth hormones. I felt that somehow that ends up in the dog's liver. And if it ends up in the dog's liver, it's going to end up in the dog's system. And so I remember back in the day, I had this one pup, Athena. We had, at the time, Victor had just been bought out, by a new company. And we were feeding Victor puppy food to the pups because we were getting them ready for them to go home. So typically I have them on raw, then we switch them to to kibble, and so they could go home. Well, it turns out her paws, her joints, everything. We have a video for you guys to check out if you want to see it. It's called How to Fix Dog Feet, and she got all crazy wonky. And so immediately, I went in, I got glucosamine, vitamin C. In the community, people swear by ester C and glucosamine. But here's the deal. Ester C or vitamin C is good, but you got to have a certain balance of how much vitamin C to glucosamine so that you can consume as much glucosamine as possible in order to be able to, support those joints, ligaments, tendons, so on and so forth. So to make a long story short, I switched her from Victor to raw, and I started doing these mixtures on my own. Within 48 hours, and you could see it on the video, within 48 hours, I fixed her. Okay, it was night and day within 48 hours. Took her off of Victor, put her back on raw, did all these supplementations. But it turned out the people from Nuvet reached out to me. Somebody over there saw my video, and they were a fan, and they reached out to me, and we had a conversation. And he was telling me, dude, do you know that everything that you were putting there together, we actually have in this particular product? Not only that, we have it at human food grade level. And that raised, raised my eyebrows immediately, because I'm well aware that most pet vitamins are made at a lower grade because they're just for that. They're being made for pets. The fact that it's being made at human food grade level is telling me that you're making it at the highest quality, so it's bioavailable. So long story short, I told the guy, he said, hey man, I could send you 2 months worth. How many dogs you got? I said, well, I'm not going to do my whole yard. I'm only going to do these 2 dogs I have here. Send me 2 months worth for this stuff. If I see a difference and I believe in it, then, we could sign on. And so long story short, I did that. I gave it to 2 of my dogs at the time. One of my dogs was showing, and that was 305. And I gave it to him. Well, 305 started putting on weight. And, 305 was always a very symmetrical, correct dog, very athletic looking, more athletic than he was girthy. Here's 305 right here. And all of a sudden, this dude puts on about 7 pounds in a matter of a month, and it wasn't sloppy. In fact, I want to dare to say that around this time, what you're looking at now is around the time that we started him on Nuvet. Also, I had another dog, Jenny. She passed away since due to a snake bite, but her pasterns were coming down. We put her on Nuvet, and next thing you know, within a month, pasterns are back up. And I'm like, man, this stuff is starting to show. So we started giving it to pups, so on and so forth. And that's how I came about in recommending Nuvet for people. Years ago, I was recommended Sure Grow. But I actually got Nuvet and Sure Grow, and I put them side by side on the nutritional scales. And I'm not going to break it all down because we'll be here till tomorrow. But if you notice the amount of vitamin C in order to be able to bring in the glucosamine, it plays a major role. Vitamin C helps the body produce collagen, but in addition, vitamin C allows you to be able to consume it more. Here's my boy Fireball, for example. You could see him here at 20 weeks. He started going east-west. I started supplementing him on my own. And then he started correcting. And now presently, if you notice, he seems a little bit thicker. Of course, age also plays a part of that. But I will say Nuvet not only has helped orthopedically, but has also helped in weight. Here are some pictures that Kyle is posting up of people that actually tried Nuvet. And in a month, in this particular case, within 18 days, you could see knuckling over was completely gone. And I can't say much more about Nuvet. You guys are well aware I'm sponsored by them. These are the prices, and if you do auto ship, you also get a discount. But I'm going to give you another tidbit. Go ahead and take that for a second. Nuvet gives you a 100% satisfaction guaranteed, guys. You can't lose. Go ahead and order it. Try it out. If it didn't work out for you, give them a call. They're going to give you your money back, 100% guaranteed. Just keeping it real with you. And you're hearing it from Gaines, and you're hearing it from Roger, and you're hearing it from me. Whether it's Nuvet or it's not Nuvet, make sure you supplement your pups. Otherwise, you can be running and you can be causing orthopedic issues. Keep in mind, wolves in the wild are eating bone and tendons and ligaments. Your dogs are eating kibble, right? And last time I checked, none of that stuff is up in there. So just keep it real with you guys. Real quick, let's go through a couple questions. I know these gentlemen, Mike over here was just about to yawn when I was talking, man. So I definitely, we got the alertness I see at 3 weeks old gives me a peace of mind knowing puppies are developing just right on Nuvet from mama transferring in the milk and now on the mush. It's amazing. Thank you, RGB, for sharing that with us. Good stuff. Pinnacle is saying, good evening, gentlemen. I'm not trying to cover your face, Raj. We're gonna have we're gonna have to remove things here a bit. Good evening, gentlemen. Is an appropriate raw diet a good option for a pregnant lactating bitch, or should one stop the raw diet and feed straight kibble and vitamin supplementation? Raj, what do you feed your lactating bitches?
Whatever they will eat.
Okay.
Literally.
So you feed raw, you feed kibble, doesn't matter.
I'll give them raw, I'll give them kibble. Depends on the puppies. I start the puppies on mush. If they don't seem like they have mush, interest in mush, I've even introduced raw to puppies. And like this singleton I have, he would eat mush. If I put raw in there, he would tear it up. So I was like, fine, you eat raw. And for me, I'm like, I always kind of look back to the wolf. It's funny that people mention the wolf. I always look back to the wolf. I'm like, if this puppy was in a den out in the woods, what would he be eating? He'd be eating raw meat. So to me, I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'll let him eat whatever he wants to eat. I'm going to keep an eye on his weight. I'm not going to let him get out of control. But if I know it's good for him, if I know it gives him the nutrients that he needs, I don't really care what it is. I'll let him eat whatever he wants.
I'm going to give you my 2 cents on that before I do. Maurice Humble says, I ran out of Nuvet for about a week, and the size of the dog's poop almost doubled. That's pretty telling. Due to not taking in most of the nutrients. It's pretty funny he says that because I failed to mention it. When I started giving Nuvet, coincidentally, I started noticing the size of the poop was going down and the dog was putting on the weight. So that's good interjection. Now, as far as me, my lactating bitches, I was always against feeding raw, right? Why? Because I felt that there was a load of bacteria that you're adding to the bitch. And in addition, whenever you're feeding raw, now you also need to deworm. Right now, a lot of people are on the side of, well, you got to deworm the pups anyways. Some people deworm their pups as soon as they're 2 weeks old. I personally don't want to, because I've done the research and I've seen, for example, ivermectin, even fenbendazole, can actually affect their joints at earlier age. And not even you giving it to them. I'm talking about giving it to Tom, who's going to pass it to them through the milk. So in order to sidestep that, I prefer to feed kibble to my lactating bitch. That's just me, right? And I will add, dairy products and things of that nature, just to make it easier for her to make milk.
All right.
I don't have anything against raw. I actually did it in a particular breeding where I actually fed the bitch raw just to see what it was going to be like. It went well. It didn't go bad in any way. But I just felt like, the less that you give the pups as far as deworming, for me, is the better. Some people like to deworm at 2 weeks. I'll keep it real with you. I don't deworm my pups until they're on mush at 4 weeks. Why is that? Because they're born with an immature immune system. It doesn't kick in until day 28. Usually also is not until day 28 that they're able to regulate their temperature. So day 28 is a big day for pups. And so I don't like, that's just my preference. I don't want to be adding chemicals, throughout her pregnancy or, while she's lactating and that sort of thing. But that's just breeder preference. Let me see here.
I'll tell you a story. It's pretty funny. This
Shoot
was
it.
Early on. We didn't know any better. And I think it was our first or second litter. I can't remember. But the female, she just didn't want to eat. And, we're super concerned. We're like, oh my God, she's not going to make milk. We're worried. So in an effort to try to get her to eat, we run down to McDonald's and we get like some plain hamburgers because we know she loves those. So we gave her those and let her eat. And then, she goes back to nursing. And then all of a sudden, every puppy in our litter had the worst case of the runs I've ever seen in my life. They were pooping everywhere. And then at that point, that was when we learned that valuable lesson. Oh, what I feed mom is what I'm feeding the puppies.
Right.
Exactly. One of the things we do, for example, we're feeding Nuvet and New Joint while she is giving milk to the pups and while she's pregnant. We feel that she is getting more than enough of the building blocks to make enough soft tissue. I had one time one of the Tessa was pregnant. The first time she was pregnant, before she went through that 2.5-year gap, we had a litter. She had about 11 pups, and they were sucking on her, right? And when I mean they were sucking on her, I mean I felt like her rear soft tissues were being sucked away by the pups. Whenever she would get up, it got to a point where the way she was moving her back legs, it started looking like she had really advanced hip dysplasia, right? Once we took the pups off of her and, we got her back to eating and everything, in time she gained everything back and everything was working fine. And so that was another reason why I felt that supplementation beyond just vitamins is important when the female's lactating or pregnant, because I literally saw her going backwards as these puppies were getting bigger and sucking on her. The nutrients were being pulled and extracted away from her body. And she was eating a lot, but you got to understand, when a female's lactating, her body is very inefficient. So she's taking, just an example, she's taking in 10 calories worth of food and she's converting only 3 calories into milk and everything else is going out. And so, what I'm saying is she's only consuming like 30% of the food that you're actually feeding. And so in order to safeguard that, you may want to look into a supplement. Teray saying, I did an A on my female when she tested 23 on the progesterone. What are the chances that she will take?
What machine?
Yeah. It has to be, if it's an IDEX, like he said, most of the new ones say it's above 20.
20, yeah, over 20 is all they say.
If it's a mini, what's it called? A mini
Vitas.
Mini Vitas.
Fine care.
Yeah, if it's Mini Vitas 23, you still got a ways to go. You probably got to hit it when it's at 35. So,
Fine care is the same way. Like their numbers are fine care machines. Their numbers are way up there before they're breedable 25, 30.
Right. Got Adam Frazier talking to Mike, saying, "How about them Cowboys, Mike?"
Hey, how about them Cowboys?
We're ready.
Hey, listen, man. Let me just say this, man. It's been a pleasure having you on, Raj, and like always, Mike and Donald, man, having you guys on. We got to do this again, man.
Yeah.
In reality, we've stopped doing. Just so you know, Raj, back in time, about a year ago, we were doing something that was called the Stack Off.
Mm-hmm.
And what we would do is a monthly online competition where people would actually stack their dogs. In fact, that's where I met these two gentlemen initially, and they did very well. They hit it out the park. It's possible, guys, that we're going to be bringing it back at the end of the year in December. I might do a mega payout for the winner, and I may just bring you on board, Roger. That way, it'd be myself, yourself, possibly Donald, or not possibly Donald and Mike as well. That way we'd be 4 judges judging the dogs to see who gets, I don't know what the payout is just yet, but it'd be rather nice. It's always refreshing to have breeders on here that have experience and, that are able to share their experiences with us. And for me, it's even more refreshing to hear that you're running into the same type of issues I'm running into. It's always good to hear. But nonetheless, we do this thing where we do, our outros.
Hey, first, I want to say something, Mike. How's it feel to be part of the club that can't participate now?
Oh,
Right. I know.
Hey, I'm happy. Hell, he was inviting the Stack King, man. I'm like, God damn,
Yeah.
you can't invite him, man. So I'm glad I'm judging and not in it.
Yeah,
man.
Mike shut it down. Mike
Yeah.
shut it down, man.
Let me correct you. And let me correct you because the wife won't.
Yeah,
she wouldn't
Dana,
let that slide with me. She was the Stack Queen.
Yeah,
I'm just
Dana.
the guy that I held the bunny afterwards.
Hey, my fault, Dana. You the Stack Queen, Dana.
Real quick. Last question of the night. When is the perfect time to ship out semen if you're the stud owner?
When the female's ready.
Hey, when you get the call that she's right before 18, hopefully around
24 hours. Yeah,
14 or 15 preferably. All right, let's start the outro. Roger, just follow suit. We're going to start out with Hollywood. Hollywood.
It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy in the back at the queue, and we're catching you on the next one.
Gaines Bullies.
Mike Green, Donald Gaines, man. Power Brothers. We catch you on the next one. Thank y'all for showing.
Roger Stout.
Appreciate you guys having me on. It was a good time. Come find me on Facebook, Roger Stout, RogueBullyCamp.com, and the Go Rogue Podcast.
Guys, you already know we do this every Monday, 8 p.m. CST. It's been Raul from the Q, catching you on the next one.